So today I want to talk about what's happening in the economy and my predictions for the next 3 to 4 months. So stay tuned. You do not want to miss this, and stay to the very end because there's a special little bonus for you. Let's get started. Hey y'all, I'm Debbie Dobbins. Welcome back to another episode of Your Wichita Falls. And what I do on this channel is talk about Wichita Falls. I talk about it from a real estate perspective, from a community perspective, from the amazing things opportunities that are here. And at the same time, we're not just an island unto ourselves. We are part of a global community, literally. And yet, we have so many great dynamics here that I want to share with you my prediction for the next several months, because I do this every few months, about what's happening in the economy. It's very interesting. I probably spend more time watching economic reports than healthy, maybe, I don't know. But how a lot of people spend their time on social media. I don't, listen, if I didn't have to do social media at all, I probably would never look at it. But what's really important to me is to see where the world, and then drill it down to where Wichita Falls is going, so that you have a better idea of how to plan your life. I know that people think things are happening to them all the time, and life is about happening through you. So creating your own experience is just understanding where you are at any given time. And if you have to pivot, you pivot. If you have to look at a projection for a period of time, knowing where you are and how you're going to get there is more important than just sitting and waiting for the world to happen to you. Because I assure you, no matter what kind of economy we're in, you can thrive. What? Yes, you can. So the big word these days, oh my gosh, if I hear it anymore, I'm going to go crazy, is inflation. Okay, so let's talk about what inflation is. Inflation is the increase of goods and services over a period of time that is not in line with the wages. Okay, that's the most simplistic way to make it. So you all know, and I try not to make this too complicated, even though I listen to economic reports and I drill down on them, and it can make your head spin. I'm going to try to make this as simple as I can for those of you that only know, oh my gosh, the gas prices are up. Food is up, energy costs are up, housing is up. Oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Well, it's not. I think the funniest thing is that as all the negative noise around us, because in case you didn't know, the press in general wants to give you bad news because that sells more. It sells more advertising, it sells more newspapers, it sells more magazines, it sells more vlogs and blogs. The fact is that life is good. And so that's what I have a group called Wichita Whispers. It's got a positive spin on it, because the more you dwell on your negative aspects of your life, the more you attract that energy into your experience. So what you want to do is begin to see, where's the possibility and the potential for me, especially in a market like this. I remember back in 2008, one of the biggest winners were the people that were betting on the defaults for loans at that point. Now, we're not in that market, just FYI. But the fact is that there's always an opportunity. So by a show of hands, I know you're not there, but a show of hands, how many of you have money in the stock market? You have money in the stock market either through your 401k, your IRAs, you're day traders, or you think you are. And the fact of the matter is, the stock market and the S&P, they're having downturns. Oh, gee. Well, guess what, though? Everything is compared to, we're at the lowest we've been, if you pay attention to the economy statistics, we're at the lowest we've been since 2020. Oh, well, let's see. What happened in 2020? Anybody remember that? Right about March of 2020. Oh, a pandemic. So things came down actually on the stock market back then. They rallied a little bit, but we've been in this trajectory of absolute phenomenal growth. And think about this, really. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure things out, right? What has happened in 2 terms of different presidents with economic downturns, right? Bailouts, money, printing money. So here's the thing about inflation. You cannot print money. I mean, this is like economic 101, and I don't know why this conversation isn't more in the press, but regardless, you cannot continually print money, have people spend money with no foundation underneath it. I mean, the gold standard, that's gone a long time ago. But the thing is that we also have people that invest in cryptocurrency that I find fascinating because there's no foundation to that whatsoever. But even cryptocurrency has lost value. Purchasing on the market has lost value in the last 6 months because the market has gone from here crazy to actually leveling out and flattening. And I've said this in several videos. The challenging part is that we have a Federal Reserve. They call it the monetary policy in various countries. You know, they have these cute little terms. The central banks in all of these countries, they have one blunt instrument tool in their tool belt. One. Can you imagine living, let's say you were a contractor, right? You were a contractor and the only tool that you had in your tool belt was a hammer. And you hammered anything and everything to make it work. That's exactly what the Federal Reserve and all the central banks have, is they have one tool, it's a blunt instrument, and it's a hammer, and then when they reduce interest rates, it's kind of like you're taking that claw part of the hammer and pulling it out. But the thing is that this economy that we live in, this world economy, is so much more complicated than building a shed with a hammer. It's a big mansion that we're living in. So if you think about this from the perspective that the only tool that they have, meaning the Federal Reserve, is a hammer, this blunt instrument by raising interest rates, you can begin to put together that it does not work. Okay? It does not work, especially in light of the fact that the inflation was created by a lot of different dynamics, right? The inflation was created by all of the money that was printed to give to people during COVID, number one. Number two, all of this supply chain conversation, which, you know, a little conspiracy theory here. I don't know how much of that was fabricated. But the fact of the matter is because now we have an overabundance of inventory. If you're listening to any economic report, we have an overabundance of inventory right now. In so many businesses, they're worried about getting rid of their inventory. So maybe the inventory that you're looking for, a Ritz cracker or something, is not still on the supermarket shelf. But the point is that they've been building the inventory back. So when you think about the economy, it's not a lever that goes on or off. It takes time to reveal itself. Just like raising interest rates by the Fed will take time to result in whatever it is that they're looking for. Which, by the way, the Fed, if you don't understand what's going on with these interest rates and why they're doing it, the Fed's idea is they want a 2% inflation pinpoint, right? As of this last week, inflation numbers increased again to 8.4. Now think about this though, from a logical perspective. What's included in the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, that the Fed determines what inflation is? Things like energy, food, shelter, which is housing. Another important ingredient that's contained in shelter numbers is the idea behind the increase in the cost of living, which is your rent, based on what landlords bought property for and now have to rent it. I find this a fascinating number it's not an appropriate number for the CPI because it's not a true indication of inflation. Yes, it's inflationary, but there's nothing that we could have done, nor could the Fed have done in the last 2 years with this lack of inventory. So think about the economy from the perspective of, I said it takes a long time for things to catch up. And I've done videos on where we were in 2008. This is almost 15 years later after 2008. But what happened in 2008, we had this run up because we had an overabundance of inventory, and then we had a decline. Well, what happened during that period, one of the most important things was that builders, because there was an overabundance of inventory, builders stopped building. It was the first leg in the table that got kicked out from under us to create a lack of inventory, a lack of housing. So I've talked about this about a lot of times in videos. There was three things that were involved here. The builders stopped building. The millennials got into the market. So we had this reduction and contraction. There was not enough availability. And then because the world was in a free fall starting in 2008, the Federal Reserve, which means the central banks, reduced interest rates to historical low points. So what happens when all of that trifecta happens is that we created, and then we had a pandemic on top of it. Starting in 2020, the market started to unravel from the perspective that there were no houses available. Well, I've always talked about this, supply and demand. A limited supply and a high demand increases the value. In this case, we're not going to have an overabundance of a supply because we still can't catch up. However, the Fed now comes in with their hammer to raise interest rates. So what's happening with the real estate market right now? We're flattening the economy. But the biggest problem is, and this is the problem that happened in 2008, what most people don't understand is that real estate is a huge component of our CPI. Huge. And what goes on with real estate? The people that are in that arena are not just real estate agents. They are the people that do the loans, the mortgage people. They're the surveyors. They're the title people. They're the appraisers. And guess what? All of those people that have work in those industries then start to impact the people around them. So they go to the Olive Garden, or they go to the supermarket, or they go to discount tires. And what happens is when you have this constriction for that industry, it has a ripple effect outwards that those people can't spend any more money. Now, the Fed knows this, and so what they're doing is they're using their blunt instrument to raise the interest rates to quell the market. But unfortunately, the result is a recession, a depression. And we aren't going to see the ramifications of it until probably December. You already feel it. I know you already feel it. You feel it at the supermarket. You feel it at the gas station. You feel it when you go to Target. You feel it when you start to buy houses. Because now the value is different, but also the interest rate to buy it is different. The fact is that all of this is going to be painful for a brief period of time. And if you look at any economic conversations, the pundits will say, are we going to have a soft landing or are we going to have a hard landing? My feeling is we are going to have a pretty hard landing at first, as soon as it starts to unravel itself, which is already beginning to show signs of that. So I believe because now we're in the middle of the holidays. What do people do during the holidays? They spend money. They spend money that they don't have. You know, the savings levels have gone down considerably in the last year because the money is growing tighter and tighter and tighter. Wages are not keeping up with this so-called inflation. But the thing is wages have gone up. Unemployment has gone down. And what the Fed also wants, in case you're unaware of this, is they want the unemployment rate to be higher than it is now, because that will reduce the amount of money that people are spending. So I want to take a different look at this. What if our economy is thriving? What if the free market, which I believe always finds its way to homeostasis, just like our bodies do, it finds its own way to healing. And if we didn't have all of this intervention by the Federal Reserve and the central banks and the federal government, oh my gosh, what would happen? The free market would determine what needs to happen. So what I want to do is give you the best chance to navigate these waters. These choppy waters are about to come up. So for Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever you celebrate where you're spending a ton of money, maybe this year is just an opportunity to find that heart space and stop being a consumer so much, because at the end of the day, the Fed is looking for is for us to stop spending money. Isn't that hilarious? The Fed wants you to stop spending money. So maybe we can all as a group stop spending so much money and give them what they want so they will stop raising the interest rates. The other thing is that there's an election coming up. Oh, I guess like 2 weeks from now. If you don't like the way things are going right now, use your voice at the ballot box. I say this so many times, and I know that people sit around, because I see social media posts, they sit around and they don't do anything except for complain. You know, the best thing you can ever do, being in a country that's free like this, that it's of the people, by the people, for the people, maybe, is vote. You know, even on a local level, what can you do on a local level? I believe in Wichita Falls, we need a change of leadership, but the fact of the matter is that, you know, someone has to step up to the plate to do and be that change of leadership. It starts here and it grows outward. So if you are only able to make a change in your community, it will have a ripple effect outwards. If you're able to make a change on a state level, do that. On a national level, on a world level, it's important that you make a choice about how you want to participate in the world. What you are for, be for, and be against nothing. Because being against something is just fighting a resistance. Look at what you can do to make an impact going forward. That's number one. Reduce your spending for this holiday season. Number two is to begin to look at where you can make more money. So I'm starting a series of wealth building here this next month. And one of the things that I share about all the time is real estate investment. Because now with real estate prices coming to a little bit more level and sustainable and even a little lower, great opportunity. It's always buy low, sell high. So we're going to move into a market. It's not going to be a very long market of getting really good prices for real estate. But if you only have the ability to make a little bit more money doing a side hustle, I've shared this on many videos, do a side hustle. Make something. I started to do little shabby chic projects just because it made me happy. What can you do? You know, you could have your kids sell lemonade on the street. What could you do? There's so many opportunities, especially in Wichita Falls, and I say this all the time. This community will support you beyond, beyond, beyond. And if you're willing to do something and get out of your own way, I have this great group called Wichita Whispers, and on every Monday, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a side hustler, you can post for free what you're doing. Start somewhere. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So today I want to encourage you, but I also want to challenge you. What are you going to do to make your life more impactful, better, more prosperous, more abundant, more wealth? Starting now. Make a plan now. Make a decision now, set an intention now, because we are about to hit 2023, and I've said over and over, 2022 is a year of magic. 2023 is going to be magic on steroids. You will have more opportunities, more chances, more experiences to be the absolute best person that you can be starting right now. Stop watching negative. Start knowing positive. Because everything that you could ever imagine, ever dream of, ever want is right here at your fingertips. You just have to reach out and grab it. So, enough of my little diatribe here, because I really wanted to share about the economy, but also to share with you that things are absolutely in your favor, in your hands, waiting for you to take a hold of them. If you have any questions ever, feel free to schedule a Zoom call with me in the first comment link below. And, even if you want a pep talk, I'll be happy to share that with you. And as I always say, y'all come back now, you hear? Bye-bye.